Welcome back to Luxury Cruising. I'm your host, Crystal Sodaitis, and I'm so excited to have Linda with us today. She is going to tell us all about her amazing experience on the Grand Princess in a penthouse suite and how she made an amazing Alaskan adventure for her and her two kids. And I think this was even like a multi-gen cruise. So really excited. First time princess review on the podcast. Linda, tell the audience anything you want them to know about you.
Hey, I'm Linda. So I'm going to just claim that I'm a little cruise reluctant. So after the pandemic, when there were people stuck on cruises, like all my husband was saying is, "Oh my God, you're going on a cruise." And I had gone on one back in my 20s. So I did like a carnival cruise for my first honeymoon in my starter marriage. And then I went on a Royal Caribbean cruise for like just a fun trip with my mom and my sister when I graduated med school. But these were like different tax brackets, right? So like your level of expectation is a little different. We were in these like cute little shoebox rooms without windows. It was just a little bit different experience. I have since become a much more bougie human being. So I was a little bit like, okay, how's this going to go? I want like Park Hyatt level now instead of like cute shoebox level. But it was a fun trip. We had a good time. So I'm
Awesome.
cruise
Awesome.
reluctant and had a fantastic time.
That's amazing. We love maybe not cruise reluctant, but cruise open, like a little bit of conversion. We're
Right.
all about that.
Converted.
That's amazing. So, what did you think of the ship?
Yeah, so I mean, from a decor standpoint, I tend to err very like modern clean lines. So it was a little bit like 1990s to early 2000s, and I think that's about when the cruise ship like happened. I can't remember exactly when it was, but it was like late 90s, I think, when it was
Yeah.
introduced. So decor had clearly not been changed a whole lot since then. I mean, it was very like older person Alaska cruise ship chic. But aside from that, everything was clean, everything was working. I don't know if you asked me to talk about how it had the decor, but that was the first thing. That was the one negative that I was like, oh my, I'm gonna be living in like late 90s paradise here for a week. That was, I think, the biggest thing that at first I was a little hesitant for because again, like you go to these like luxury hotels on land and they tend to be really modern and streamlined and very up to date decor wise. So that was one thing that I was a little bit like, okay, here we go. I will say it was so much less stressful than my previous cruises. Like, it was not this giant gathering place when you're like getting off for shore excursions. That was really, really well executed. Like, I was pretty impressed by how Princess did that. I don't know if this has just changed over time, but I remember having to be in like little globs of people based on what time you were assigned or what number or something like that. And there was none of that. Like, you just like got on the ship. I never had to wait more than like a few minutes. So that was kind of magical. And the suite did have, I think, some type of priority, but because we were in a group of people, so the cruise was to celebrate my aunt retiring. So my aunt was there, my uncle was there, I had another aunt and uncle there, my mom, my cousin, and her husband, and then my aunt brought her grandson, who's the same age as my little. So like we had everybody from like 9-year-old boys who are, berserk, the 9, 10, and 13-year-old boys was fun, to we had people in their 60s. And so not everybody was in a suite. I was the only one who was a little bougie that way. So we never even used the priority like disembarkation and embarkation stuff. And it was totally seamless. Like it was pleasantly surprising based on my recollection of my really budget Caribbean cruise back in the day. So that was gorgeous. That was fun. Activities were fun.
So, the ship decor was a little bit dated, but
A little dated.
clean and uncrowded. What did you think about your room? Tell us about the penthouse suite.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the biggest concern with cruises is the room size. Like you're getting a New York City hotel suite. I live in Georgia and like you get like 2,000 square feet for a hotel because there's
Mhm.
plenty of land. So it was nice. Like obviously it's a cruise ship room. So it wasn't like 2,000 square feet or anything insane. I think it was like 600 or 700, something in that range if I had to look it up. But like we had the room where we slept and then we had like a separate-ish living room. It was a little open concept. I think there was a curtain, not a real wall, but it was plenty of space. It was me and my 10 and 13-year-old, and they refused to sleep together. So we had it set up with the two twins in the sleeping area. And then my little slept on the fold out couch every day. And I think the nice thing is every time I see fold out couches like a sleep option, I'm always like, ugh, we're gonna have to walk around it. It's gonna be a pain to like put together and take out and take in and everything. Oh no, magic fairies come during the day and they pull it out and they put it up and they do all the things for you and they figure out
Yeah.
your time schedule because we go to bed early. So my kids go to bed at 8:30 still because I've continued to trick them into thinking that's necessary for their well-being. It's really necessary for mine. Um,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
so we go to bed a little earlier than the average person. And she just got our routine down. And magically, about 8, she would come and do it. And so we'd come back from whatever thing we interrupted to go to bed. And it was just all there. And then in the morning, like literally, I think she stalked us a little. And that's fantastic too. I love stalker fairies. She just like came in the minute like we went to breakfast. And all of a sudden, it was all put back up. And so it was
Amazing.
awesome.
And I just want to pause and say, like, for a premium cruise line, because that's Princess is considered a premium cruise line. It is one of the things I love. Also for mainstream, I love that you can have a multi-generational cruise or even just a giant group cruise where people have different budgets and different comfort levels in how much they want to spend, right? If you're going to an all-inclusive resort, like everyone's going to pay the same price basically for their room. There's not a lot of wiggle room. But on a cruise, somebody can have the penthouse suite and somebody can have the interior no window suite if they want to and still enjoy basically the same experience.
Right, right. I love that. I think my mom paid like 1,600. We took a 7-day cruise through Alaska in July, so prime season. And she paid like somewhere around 1,600 for her room, and I paid like 10 grand for the three of us. But, very different levels of need and experience. And my big thing on the room is it had a wide balcony. So it was kind of, if you're thinking like hamburgers and hot dogs, like folding paper, it was more of a
Yeah.
hot dog room, and it was lined up such that the longer portion was the balcony because my aunt and my uncle and her grandson stayed in a mini suite. So I got to look at lots of rooms on the Princess Cruise because everybody had different kinds of rooms. So they
Love
were
it.
in a mini
Love it.
suite, and it was like a hot dog, but with the opposite orientation. So the balcony was very narrow, but the room
Mm,
itself wasn't that much smaller than ours. I mean, it was a little more small than ours, but it wasn't that much different. And I think it was a substantially lower price point. So it's kind of a nice compromise if you need the interior space because it had like a little couch area and it had like where the bed was instead of just being like, here's the bed and the walls, but which is what my mother's room was. But its balcony was narrow versus ours was like literally the length of the room. And
yeah.
for an Alaska cruise, and I'm sure we'll get into ports, so I won't jump too far ahead, but you spend some time outside. Like a lot of your day is looking at all the pretty cool things that are out in the world and nature in Alaska. And so for me, that was why I spent my money. Like I feel like the other things were really nice bonuses, but I needed that like I don't want to have to be up with all the people looking for a chair, trying to find a place to sit when there's whales. Like I just want to like walk out of my room with no socks on and just like be like, "Oh, look, there's Shamu. How
Yeah.
cool."
That's awesome. Yeah, yeah. It's so important, right? Know what your priorities are. Some people just want to be there, right? It's enough. Like, I just want to be in Alaska. I'm happy to go up on deck. Other people like you, like, yeah, I just want to like either go out on deck or just look, not even have to go outside because it's a little chilly. And I'm from Georgia, and like 55 is
Right.
kind of on the cool side. So I'm just gonna watch the whales from the inside of my stateroom and have my coffee. That's
Right.
all
I mean,
good.
it's early in the morning here in the fall and it's still warmer than Alaska in July. And
Yeah,
so exactly, like that was so nice. Plus, we had the space that because we were multiple groups at different price points, like 10,000 for me was easier than 1,600 was for my mother. Like we're just at different budget levels. And so everybody was able to kind of hang out in our room. So that was nice too, is because we could host other people. Like there was seating on the balcony for like 8 people. And so we could have people over and be together still without having to like watch the kids 24/7 because they were just like running in and out of the room and watching whatever YouTube thing they decided to watch on their tablet because when you're in Alaska there's all this cool things to see like let's watch YouTube. But they were able to do that without us having to like where are they? Where are they? Is somebody going to steal them? Is somebody going to throw them overboard? I mean, I don't think any of these things happen, but you get indoctrinated with all these fears as parents. Like they could just sit there and do their thing. And if people needed to go to the bathroom, you just went because we have
yeah,
some grandmas in there, some multiparous bladders. Like it was just easy, which was nice.
yeah. Yeah, that sounds amazing. That sounds amazing. So, did you notice because you had your room attendant who came in like the little fairy cleaning up after you at exactly the right time? Did anyone else mention was it the same experience for them, or do you think that that was specifically because you were in a penthouse suite?
So my mom had the same room fairy because all these lights blah blah. this is what I referred to her as the entire time. I was like, oh, she's the magical room fairy. Um, so she had the same gal and was equally happy. I think the big difference is I had this magic replacement fruit bowl every day. So I had this like bowl of fresh fruit every day put in my room. If I had my life together, which I didn't normally, I could get like these really nice bougie, like charcuterie kind of snacks in the afternoon. That was one of the like sweet perks.
Hmm.
But you had to have your life together pretty early in the day, which was not my MO. I'm kind of a fly by the seat of my pants gal. But the one day I did get it, it was really nice. And then I got the laundry. So she took our laundry magically away and came back with it like on hangers, clean, pressed. Like for the formal night, everything got pressed because, of course, we'd been traveling by land in Alaska a week ahead of this. So everything was wrinkled. And so she just took the kids' clothes and was like, yes, now they're clean and pressed. I made sure I got those clean beforehand so I didn't have to dry clean them later. So she pressed our stuff, she took our stuff, and she just magically it showed up in my closet like on hangers. I didn't have to do a thing. And that was priceless
That's a
versus my mother
beautiful
didn't
thing.
have that perk. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. The laundry, especially when you're traveling with kids and you've done a little bit of pre-cruise, even if you're doing a little bit of post-cruise, and you don't have to pack as much stuff. You don't have to worry. Oh, even if it's just the week, do I have enough shirts? Do I have enough shirts? Like, when we did a suite, we sent out laundry every day. Like we brought less
Yeah,
clothes.
pretty much
We
every
sent
day.
out laundry
Mhm.
every day. And it's a game changer. And it really is, it is worth a little bit of extra just to have that ease.
And they like actually bill you and then they take it out. And so I got to see how much laundry we use like $200 worth of laundry services. There is
Yeah,
no way on God's green earth, despite the fact that $200 is in my budget, that I would have spent that on laundry.
right.
Like, there's no way. Just because my brain would be like, girl, just go to the quarter laundry, set that stuff in there, you're gonna be fine. I would have felt like I needed to do that for $10 instead of spending 200.
Yeah.
But because it was included, I used that mercilessly. I was like, oh,
And
please, thank
the fact that you didn't have to fold it, you didn't have to hang it up. This is
you.
time out
Nothing.
of your cruise.
Well, and like I got to go home with a suitcase full of clean clothes. Like I made sure the last day that we could send it out, man, I got
Yeah.
everything. I'm like, okay, pick up, make sure everything's clean. Because there is something nice, like after your experience when you're exhausted. I mean, I live in Georgia. Alaska to Georgia is not a small flight. I was a little dramatic and extra and went first class. So it wasn't so bad, but it's a lengthy flight. You're flying a lot. I live by a little teeny regional airport, so there are always layovers. And it was so nice just to like walk in tired and like you could empty the suitcase into your drawers instead of being like, okay, now I just got home and I have these heaps of laundry. Like that alone was really, really nice just to come home and be able to kind of savor the cruise a little bit instead of being like, okay, let me get laundry done and all these things and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. It's such a nice way to end your vacation. Yeah.
Like it ends up with a balance.
Awesome, awesome. Anything else luxurious about the suite? How are the windows? I'm like, I always think of the penthouse suite as having like floor to ceiling windows.
Mhm. Yeah, it was pretty much like having almost like sliders the whole way. I can't remember if they actually slid or if they French doored out, but it was windows the entire length of the balcony, basically, in each room. So the place where the couch was had like its own set of like sliders or pullouts or whatever. And then the room part did as well. So there were two sets of them.
Amazing, amazing. And the bathroom, I love a luxurious bathroom.
Yeah. So I mean, again, 1990s. So like it was a little like 90s fab, but it had a stand-up shower and it had a separate jetted tub. I'm not a bath person. On a good day, like we're building a new house
Mhm.
and we're putting in this like ungodly expensive bathtub because my husband is very much a bath person. I am not, so I didn't get in it at all, but the kids were having like their best life there with jets and I mean, it was a full-size jetted tub. Like it was pretty large. And in a cruise, usually I think of you being in this like itty bitty little closet
Yeah.
shower where you're like in out as fast as humanly possible, which even my mom's room. So I went in the interior bathroom at one point too. It wasn't so bad. Like it wasn't quite as like closet as I expected it to be, but certainly not as luxurious as having like a separate stand-up shower that was reasonable size. If you really are going for a romantic trip, you probably could fit two nice and cozy in there. But and then it had the full jetted tub. And what I really liked about it, since we had people in and out and things, is it was separate from the room with the toilet and the sink. So it was like
Nice.
a two-room bathroom. Like there was a room with the shower and the bathtub, and then there was the room with the toilet and the sink. So somebody could be showering or taking their like 1 hour long kid-friendly bath, and somebody else could like go to the bathroom and still have some privacy.
Yeah, love it. That's awesome. Let's move on to the food and the restaurants. Were there any sweet specific specialty restaurants and did you eat there?
So the first day you got to eat at the fancy, you have to pay for them restaurants. So we did an Italian place that was lost upon my children because it's one of those multi-course meals. And they're just like, oh my God, why are they bringing more food? Why are we still here? But it was delicious. So that was fantastic. I think there may have been another like sweet dining space. We never found it because we were with a group of people who didn't have that benefit, and we just were more concerned with eating with each other than with eating at the specific place. But I do believe there was like a more kind of typical dining, not like the fancy five-starry, that was sweet specific, but we never ventured there.
Okay. Before we move on to the excursions, anything else about the suite experience that you really
Right.
thought up leveled your experience compared to maybe some of the others?
I can't remember if it was a sweet benefit or if it was just that like you bought the Wi-Fi and coffee package or whatever, the beverage package. But like I could get a latte delivered to the room, which was really nice because in the morning when the kids were like still snoring and I'm like, please God, give me coffee or I can't do my day. I didn't have to run like the coffee maker in the room and they always make a lot of noise. And it's not really the same as somebody else doing it for you, right? Like this is our bougie trip. And so I could, when I first wake up, order like a latte or something, and like within like 15, 20 minutes, they would magically show up at my door.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
So
surprised if the
that was
Wi-Fi
super
was
nice.
included.
I did. So the Wi-Fi was like a separate like Princess Plus or something like
Mm,
that. So it was
yeah.
per person for the first two people was the beverage and the Princess Plus. Now I didn't have to do that for my third person. Like it was automatically like the first two have to. So for my kid, because it includes all this alcohol and stuff like that, and it includes like 15 drinks a day or something ungodly that we were never going to all drink. So for the third kiddo, because God forbid not everybody had access to Wi-Fi, we ended up doing like a Wi-Fi only package when we got on the boat. And it worked out good because I got like four access points. So I gave a couple to my aunt and everybody was happy because everybody had Wi-Fi. But we didn't do the drink package for him. He just kind of shared and piggybacked on ours, which I'm sure is not allowed, but it was fine. Like I have two kids not drinking any alcohol and you're charging me for like a grown-up package. So
Yeah.
that was nice to have just done. Nobody wants to feel like I don't want to order another drink. I'm gonna have to pay for it. Like I'm a big fan of the all-inclusive kind of pre-included, and it included your tips too, which was nice. Because I don't want to think about it. Like I just want to pay ahead and I'm willing to pay a little more not to be aggravated with the effort of like mentally calculating. And I know I will.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, amazing. So, let's go to the excursions. It sounds
Mhm.
like though your excursions were all with your group. That wasn't necessarily specific for the suite or anything. You didn't do anything from Princess that may have up-leveled your excursions.
Right. And we had already been in Alaska for a week, so there were a few that we canceled once we got there. So like we had a helicopter tour booked, but we went and camped on a glacier during our land portion and they took us there by helicopter. And I was like, okay, we checked our helicopter danger box. We're already good. So we canceled that. So we did a little mixing and matching on excursions, but we still did everything we did, we booked through the cruise line except for the lumberjack show. And in hindsight, I wish I would have because that was its own adventure. We'll get there. But we did book excursions through the cruise, but they weren't like stateroom specific.
Yeah, awesome. Well, tell us about the lumberjack adventure we want to hear.
So the lumberjack was at Ketchikan. So they have this like lumberjack show, and it's basically like what you would think. It's this kitschy little competition between them, like climbing up logs, cutting down logs, doing all these like stunts based on axes and sharp objects and trees. So it was right off the port, and I was like, man, we can walk there. Like, why am I buying like the fancy cruise ship package where I have to like know ahead of time what time I want to go? Like, we just didn't do it, and that was the only port where we didn't pre-plan an excursion ahead of time. It was the last port. We were 2 weeks into vacation. So I was like, we'll just like wing it and see what we want to do. So we ended up taking and going to the lumberjack place. We walked there directly. I think it's like a quarter mile or something. It wasn't bad. It was hard for my mom, but it wasn't hard for the rest of us. And then we get there and it's like a madhouse. Like everybody and their brother had the same idea because I think it's like the natural thing to do because it's close by and it's a big show. And so the first like one or two shows were sold out. So we had to come back like hours later. And I like the VIP seats where like you get a nice seat and you're not like all on top of each other. And of course, none of that was available. So we were like chilling on like stands at a football game. But we had to leave and come back, which was kind of a bummer because it was like, oh man, like we gotta plan our life enough to be back on time because it's a
Yeah.
timed ticket. And I think it would have been easier knowing when the ship was going to get to port to just like choose a time pretty close to that, like give yourself enough time to get there, but like also not have to wing it the day of. So that was a little bit of a place where I was like, I don't think we actually saved money. If we did, it was like $5 or
Mm.
something stupid and menial in the scheme of things. And I wish I would have just booked it through the cruise and made life simple for myself. But because I
Yeah.
had not previously decided, it was just a little more back and forth. And you want to like optimize your times on these like
Yeah.
little cities. And so that was a little suboptimal. But we ended up taking an Uber out to this totem place where they had these really cool like ancient totem poles and things like that, and we killed time that way, so we had a good time. It was totally
Hmm.
fine. I don't know that Ubering is a lot cheaper than just booking a tour either, because Ubering in Alaska is kind of expensive, but it was fine. It worked out well. We had a good time. It was all good,
Yeah.
but it was a little
Yeah.
less smooth than just being like, here, there's a sign and a person coming to get you because you bought package number 462. And here you are. Everything is pre thought out and done for you.
Yeah, and especially when you're working with like a multi-generational family and like you're hurting everybody, sometimes it is easier to just go with the cruise line excursion. It's all set. Somebody else has done the thinking about it. I just have to make sure I'm in the right spot at the right time.
And little excursion tip. So we had booked our tour or our cruise far in advance because we had 20 people that we were trying to organize coming from all sorts of different places around the country. And so Black Friday, they made things cheaper and you can cancel and rebook things. So I had booked all the excursions. I was actually locumsing over Thanksgiving. And so I booked them all like the first day, just thinking, oh, I finally have time. Let me get these all squared away. And then Black Friday was later in that week. And I was able to like cancel and redo them. And the downside is if you spend less, like you get a good deal and you save money doing that, it ends up being an onboard credit instead of you getting your money back. But
Mm,
I did get a check at the end from Princess for whatever we did spend of our onboard credit. It was like $200. I mean, it was not substantial, but you can kind of like with airlines, you can get the credit and redo them. Like you
yeah.
can rebook the excursions when they go on sale. And Princess did do, I mean, my emails were full of it's so many percent off, but Black Friday was
Yeah.
kind of the best. Like I never got cheaper
Yeah.
than that.
So that's really interesting because I have done that too on Royal Caribbean and Celebrity. I have canceled and rebooked something for cheaper, and I usually get a credit back to my credit card. And so Princess gives you onboard credit, but I also, and truth be told, I don't think I've ever left any onboard credit after a cruise. So I wouldn't know for sure, but I don't think Royal would send me a check of
Oh,
whatever's
it was
left
a
over.
paper check,
So,
like old fashioned paper check in the mail. It was interesting. And the only reason I had extra left is I canceled a helicopter tour. So it was a little bit substantial. But yeah, it was a little interesting. I mean, I think as somebody who accepts credit cards, I can see from their standpoint why. Because when you accept a credit card, you're paying a fee, right? When you reimburse somebody or kind of refund something, you pay a fee again. So I can see why it would be cost efficient to do that, and so it makes a lot of sense from that standpoint. But oh my God, the accounting. I was like, whew, God bless y'all.
yeah,
And I mean, it was accurate. I went with a comb because I was like, are you guys going to do this right? And they figured it out, but I canceled and rebooted and did all this nonsense and gymnastics in November, and I didn't get my money back till July. So FYI, just know it's
yeah.
going to be a little bit of a delay because it was like 2 weeks after the cruise.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, that's really good to know. That's really good to know. Anything else that you think in the excursions that maybe you just up leveled on your own?
No, I mean, we really kind of stuck to the excursions we booked. And to be honest, you can just sit on the balcony and everything's pretty in Alaska. So, like, when we did our excursion, these are itty bitty little towns. So, they tend to take you somewhere and you do the thing and then you come back. So, I think as far as the ports, Quechuan, I was gonna say that's a mouthful, was the only one where you could kind of walk and do a lot. The others had like the traditional cruise ship shops, like I think the jewelry stores and all that nonsense. They had that. But other than that, there wasn't a ton to do nearby. And so you kind of had to go off and do like the nature thing and then come back. And so we just got off, did our excursions, and then came back on the boat.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So let's step away from this particular cruise and ask you a couple of questions that I ask everyone. The first is, what is your definition of luxury?
Everything being done for me. Not having to think about like I think my favorite place to go is Miraval, and I don't have to think about food. I don't have to think about tipping. I don't have to think about like adulting. Like I can just go be and other people do all the things for me. And so for me, more than like the comfy beds and the pretty, I mean, I like those things too. But like the most luxurious thing is not having to adult because I spend my entire life in a high functioning whirlwind and I just don't want to do anything that's hard. I just want to like have other people do all the tasks that are not fun for me. And I want to just like breeze through the day being spoiled like I'm Princess Linda of the cruise ship.
Awesome. Did this cruise meet that expectation for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, I had to parent a little because I brought tiny guests, but that was not their decision, that was mine. Luckily, my 13-year-old could like I felt safe enough letting him go back to the room and back and forth by himself. Like he is a very mature 13, so I didn't have any qualms with that. And it worked out well because he's in that tweeny, like introverty kind of stage where he doesn't really want to hang out with us all the time. So that was nice. And you could stalk him too. Oh, I forgot that part. That was really nice. Is the kids and I had our little like wristbands that got us into the room, and I could stalk on the
The
app where
medallion?
everybody was. Yep, the medallions. So I could stalk. I bought little watches for them to go in, which I thought was much more convenient than a lanyard because it's just not moving so much, especially for the kids. So like you could get them on Amazon. They were like $5. It was ungodly cheap. So I did that ahead of time and brought them. But it was really nice because I could stalk the kids. So I'd be like, okay, he got to the room. He's where he's supposed to be. He hasn't moved. Like that was really, really nice for me to let him have some freedom without me having to like freak out. Also, you could connect to other people not in your reservation. So I could see like, where's my mom? Where's my aunt? Like, oh, they're still at the bar at 11:30. They're having a good time. So, and you can choose whether you allow people to see you or not. Because my uncle's new wife did not share her space. We're like, where's Gina? But so you have some privacy in this, like you have to approve. So it's not like random person in suite 412 is going to be stalking you the entire time. But that was really, really helpful, I think, for that piece. And like my youngest went to the kids club. Like I could see, okay, he's still there. And so I did enjoy that. And I know I digressed, but that let me have the luxury of letting them have some freedom without having to worry. And when I was like, oh, is my mom awake or not? So that we can start our day. Like, I don't want to wake her up. It's vacation. I'd be like, oh, well, she's not in her room. Clearly she's awake. And so I
Hmm.
think like
Yeah.
those type of things were a nice bonus. And I'm assuming most cruise lines have something to that effect.
Yeah. Actually, not,
Oh,
you
okay.
know? So when we were on Star of the Seas, which is Royal Caribbean's newest ship,
Hmm.
they were just debuting. They have something called WoW bands, which is kind of like the watch version of the medallion. And on the WoW bands, you could put a tracker for your child so that you could see where they are. And it was complimentary part of because we were on, one of the first cruise ships, one of the first sailings of that ship, and they were trying it out. So I was like, sure, I'll try it out, and I put it on my 11-year-old. What I find amazing with those is that I think the age range is like from 4 to 13 or something like that. And I'm like, okay, for my like tween year old, but I'm like, if I don't know where my 5-year-old is, I'm sorry. I need to rethink my like cruise priority plans here. There's
Right.
just something off, me personally, about that.
Fair.
But anyway, again, we digress. But I do think that having the luxury of not needing to like have your 11, 12, 13-year-old right next to you all the time. Being able to know exactly where they are without always having to like, how you do it. People used to carry around, and they probably still do, walkie-talkies. They give kids that don't otherwise have cell phones a cell phone because
Mm.
they want to know where their kids are. And the truth is, like when I was growing up, my parents didn't know where I was half the time. Um, but that's just not the age that we
Yeah.
live in.
Growing up in the 90s and the late 80s, like I
Yeah.
was just wondering a lot. And
Yeah.
the things that I did that nobody thought anything of give me chest pain to think of allowing my children to do, even my
Yeah.
responsible one.
Yeah, absolutely. So any cruises, like now that you've moved from, cruise reluctant to cruise possible, any cruises coming up? Are you planning anything?
No, we're building a house. So to be fair, like my vacation cutoff is when we move in this house, and I'm having a year of like a travel moratorium so that I can get the house ready, enjoy the house, and kind of spend some time there. But we have a trip to Thailand and Japan in the Christmas time season, and
Mm,
we're doing the traditional like we land and we go places, kind of the land
yeah.
and hotel trip version, which I think Japan probably would be pretty accommodating to a cruise.
Oh yeah, just recently we dropped a podcast about an episode about someone who did a celebrity cruise around Japan, and it was sounded
Mhm.
pretty amazing. So that is definitely
Yeah.
on my list. A land cruise vacation to Japan, definitely be on my list. Well, this is awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, telling us about your Princess Penthouse suite. And to the listeners, thank you for joining. And until next time, I wish you safe and luxurious cruising.